So there are a bunch of things to go over with the Montreal Canadiens from the past weekend. And because it's Monday, because it's the start of a brand new work week, hello, what's going on, folks? I do think it's an interesting idea to go out there and just dive into a bunch of these thoughts. We're heading over onto Montreal hockey now from an article 22 hours ago on November 3rd, published by Marc Dumont. This is your Habs weekly wrap. Martin St. Louis sends a message, Demidov shines, and wah. Now, interestingly enough, I actually wanted to talk about a few of the points as highlighted in this article, but I didn't really want to focus too much on Marty St. Louis or Demidov or Joshua. I wanted to talk about a few other guys and a few other talking points that are mentioned in this article. It will be linked in the description if you want to go ahead and read more about these conversations as well as the other ones in the title of the piece, if you want to read what Marc Dumont has to say about Martin St. Louis and his message. Anyways, what I wanted to highlight in this video was Lane Hutson. I wanted to talk about David Reinbacher. I wanted to talk about the Laval Rocket and how all of these pieces of news kind of blend together in a pretty seamless way. So let's start out with the Hutson conversation because this is written about towards the middle part of the article. Take a look at what Marc Dumont writes about here. Lane Hutson is used to playing a lot due to his time with BU, but he's not used to playing 82 games a year, which means his current pace is fairly impressive as long as he has the endurance to tackle the second half of the season. Second half of the season, buddy, we are in the first 10th of the season. There are still 4/10 of the way to go before we even reach the first half. Anyways, the article includes a tweet made by Habs on Reddit from earlier last week, so obviously this was from a while ago. Lane Hutson with 5 points led the Habs with 23 minutes and 10 seconds of time on ice per game, which ranks 30th in the NHL. As a comparison, Charlie McAvoy, who has 3 points, and Victor Hedman, who have 8 points, are averaging 23-21. Adam Fox is averaging 22.55. Roman Josi, with 5 points at the time, led the NHL with 26 minutes per game. Now, Hutson being a minutes-eating, munching machine isn't really all too surprising when you consider the usage that he gets as well as the skill that he has. Obviously, the Canadiens love to throw him out there, especially when they're trying to cook up and get some offense. It's just kind of interesting how that doesn't really apply to the power play as often as it should, but still. Lane Hutson has himself 7 points in 12 games played. Interestingly enough, he has 7 points, but he has only scored points in 4 different games this season. He has 3 double-point games and 1 singular-point game. But throughout the week, he has had himself a few more minutes out there. He had 24 minutes against the Penguins, 19, a little bit lower, against the Caps, and then 23 minutes against the Seattle Kraken. So the article and the post that's on Twitter that are talking about this, yeah, it's still accurate pretty much. Hutson has been doing very well on the score sheet for a rookie defenseman, and he's been getting those minutes. But if you scroll down in this article, you'll find a few other things talking about Lane Hutson that are also interesting to make note of. Take a look at this. On Friday, we heard a lot of criticism regarding Lane Hutson's play in the first 10 or so games of the season. Coincidentally or not, most of it is coming from fans who are supporting Canadian teams in the Atlantic. But that's a good sign. Cough cough, leaves fans, sends fans. When opposing fans go out of their way to insult players who are clearly doing well, you know there's a certain element of envy at play. And it's been a very long time since the Canadiens have had a type of player that evokes such envy around the division. On that note, Lane Hutson's underlying numbers are far from great, but much of that has to do with the team he plays for. Everyone in the Canadiens lineup has awful possession stats, such as life on a rebuilding team. Relative to his teammates, Hutson is doing quite well. Additionally, Hutson is generating a quantity of high-danger chances that most elite defensemen can only dream of, and if his teammates did a little better job at capitalizing on those chances, the Habs would be in much better shape. Take a gander at the chart below, and then consider how much more compact it would look without Hutson involved. Compared to the rest of the NHL, Hutson's ability to create high-danger chances via a quick pass in the slot has been off the charts. This is where we talk about a JFresh tweet. This is the thing that if Hutson can keep up anything close to it, would make him the unicorn that people keep talking about. Making high-danger passes across the slot is something that even elite offensive defensemen rarely do. So far, Hutson can. And the tweet has itself a graphic of high danger passes per 60, that's on the x-axis, and chance assists per 60 on the y-axis. you can see that Lane Hutson is literally the best guy for high danger passes per 60. He has double most players in the National Hockey League, and he is also like second best in chance assists per 60. I would have to guess who that New York Islanders defenseman is. Is it Noah Dobson? Probably, who is number one. But Lane Hutson is literally, like, if you average it out, the best offensive generating defenseman in the NHL per 60 minutes, which is ridiculous when you consider he doesn't get significant power play time. So even though he's eating minutes, even though he's going out there and doing the thing, hey, he's doing a pretty good job. A lot of Canadiens fans are super happy with the way he has been performing. But that bleeds into another discussion that I wanted to have in this video regarding Montreal Canadiens defensemen. You see, it was brought to our attention that on Halloween night a few days ago, we had David Reinbacher make an appearance on social media in the form of the ultimate trick-or-treater candy hander-outer. Take a look at this tweet made by Mathieu Chouinard. Les enfants étaient bien heureux de prendre... Okay, let's try to read this without translating it. The kids were very happy to take a photo with David Reinbacher on Halloween. There you go. And you can see a whole bunch of kids hanging out in front of a nice stone-walled house, and David Reinbacher right there with the toque. Interesting to see him pop up on the timeline, you know, unexpected guest appearance from David Reinbacher over the weekend. I say weekend, but it's like Halloween was on Thursday. Maybe I'm just kind of late to the party here, but it does kind of segue into some of the other conversations I wanted to have here too, because Reinbacher is in the AHL's Laval Rocket. That's his official designation at the moment, and I also wanted to talk about some other guys in Laval who had gotten a little bit of injury trouble the past few days here too. Let's scroll up into the article and read what happened with Vinny Arsenault as well as Filip Mesar. There was some unfortunate news in the farm, with 4 Laval Rocket players setting to miss time in the AHL. Mesar will miss 8 to 10 weeks with a lower body injury, putting an end to his strong start to the season, which saw him register 5 points in 5 games. You also had yourselves Vinny Arsenault, who was sidelined for a while, upper body injury. Laurent Dauphin and Brendan Gignac were also day-to-day for a while. This tweet was posted back on October 28th, so it is a little bit older, but I still wanted to talk about Mesar mostly because this is a guy who has had a really strong start to the season, and I think... Look, I'm kind of surprised, admittedly, to see him do as well as he's doing, especially considering the OHL season he had last year. But for Filip Mesar, just to see the production get up on the board, it's a lot better than we would have hoped for. Just to give a quick recap here, Mesar was drafted in the 2022 draft out of Slovakia. First round guy, 26th overall, he was playing in that league, he was alright, which is actually really good when you consider that he was a teenager, but the next season he went to the OHL and he had a 51-point season with the Kitchener Rangers. Not the best, admittedly. A draft +1 first-round talent who is just barely around a point per game in the OHL. If he had these numbers in his draft-eligible season in the OHL, he might not have even been a first-rounder. This is kind of subpar production, and a lot of people were talking about this back then as a little bit of a cautionary flag. The next season, Mesar produced a little bit more. He had 52 points in 45 games played, which is, of course, a little bit better considering the playoffs that he had too, but now he has that 5 points in 5 games with Laval, so he's really taken that dominance over to the American Hockey League, a lot more of a transition in a positive way than I think many fans were expecting. And when you consider some of the other drama that was going out there with Filip Mesar, him not getting an opportunity, quote-unquote, maybe he's unhappy with this and that, there were a few extra things that we had actually made videos about too. Let's see if we could try to find it. Filip Mesar, Lego Rocks 99. Can we see that here on YouTube? Yeah, okay. This is exactly the one that we were talking about. There was some sort of a thing going around as to whether or not he would want out, sorta, and people were kind of tossing out random, ridiculous ideas online. It was kind of stupid, but at the end of the day, Filip Mesar is a Habs prospect. He's out for a while, for a pretty significant while, actually. I mean, you can't go out there and ignore 8 to 10 weeks, but at the end of the day, he has been producing, he has been progressing properly, and I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about that? What are your thoughts about all these pieces of Habs news, from David Reinbacher's brief Halloween appearance to Lane Hutson's ice time and offensive dominatrix metrics, as well as Filip Mesar and the injury bug with Laval? Thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. 9, and bye.